you think of storytelling? Just for kids? Not suitable for adults? Okay if it's not too long. Good if the punchline makes me laugh. Well, those are the typical responses I get when I ask the question, and I reckon it's because we've all had stories done to us in a bad way. Some were too long. Some, is at most, storytellers were as boring as bat manure. They bring back memories of hot sticky days at school or kindergarten, listening to the librarian droning on about the school motto or something dreadful. Even as grown-ups, we come across storytellers and we feel awkward because the teller's just a bit wussy. People shrug when I say I host this channel Storytelling Works. Storytelling? Why? I then run an on-the-spot poll with them. What did you think of when I mentioned storytelling, I ask. A boss delivering a boring annual report, a person in a funny hat at the library struggling to contain crying babies and 6-year-olds running amok at the same time, someone at the pub up to their eyeballs in terps telling a bawdy joke, an elderly relative maybe talking about a croquet tournament in the 60s. They usually nod and grumble. Yeah, well, that's all storytelling is, isn't it? It's not worth running a webinar on it. It's no big deal, Colin. But I say, isn't there a bit of a difference between all of those examples I gave you and a professional raconteur like, say, Billie Connolly having an audience in euphoric laughter for 2 hours? I seem to agree. No big deal. It's only that it's one of the 11 features that make us human. No other species tells stories. Unfortunately, not all storytellers are any good at it, and not all stories are worth telling. People who ought to know better aren't giving this great gift enough value. Parents aren't telling stories anymore. No time, busy taking kids to netball, basketball, ballet. Grandparents aren't telling stories. Teachers aren't telling stories. Too busy marking. Preachers aren't even telling stories when the man they follow was the greatest storyteller of all time. Beat that. Managers aren't telling stories. Too busy with rosters. Marketers aren't telling stories. They're just yelling at us about price and variety. Salespeople aren't telling stories. And they all should be. Except they don't know what to tell or how to tell it. If there's an important message to put across, nothing does it better than embedding it in a story. As Alfred Lord Tennyson once said in a poem, "Truths embedded in a tale shall enter in at lowly doors." I learned a long time ago that storytelling is like the famous spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down. I've been telling stories since I was 4, when I performed as Wee Willie Winky in the kindergarten play in a nightgown, holding a candle. And I was so nervous I shook my candle out of its holder, it fell on the floor and I ran off the stage. And I vowed I would never go on stage again. Well, not in a nightie holding a candle anyway. However, I have entertained and engaged thousands and thousands of people, from kindergarten kids to old fogies, in careers as a teacher, a television presenter, a professional storyteller, and an international business speaker. I have a master's degree in creative writing and studies in the authenticity of historical fiction. And my brain hurt. And even then, I am still learning how much there is to know. So many people have told me their favourite story of mine is the monkey and the crocodile story, with the noble king, the horrible crocodile, and the cutest monkey. It started as a puppet show, and it's become a storybook, a commercial, a video, an audio cassette and a CD. And, as I said, this book, which won the Chicago Book Fair in the USA for Best Book. It was shot a long time ago, so the archived copy has become a bit blurry and dull, but the story is still there. I know families who've played it hundreds of times and worn out the tape or the CD. You can now get your own copy on this read-along version for iPad, iPhone and tablet. It also proves that once I had hair and was very pretty to look at, even if in my own opinion.
the middle of a great jungle, there lived a great lion, who was also a great king. He ruled the jungle so wisely that all the animals loved him and obeyed him. That's why they all came to him at the first full moon every year to pay their rent. They came from puddles and pools, rocks and rivers, hills and hollows, mountains and mud holes, bushes and burrows. They paraded before the king as he decided how much rent each should pay. The amount was always fair and just exactly what they could pay. No one ever complained, no one but the crocodile. Mrs. Antelope and all her little dears brought cast-off velvet antlers. Mrs. Waterhen her 6 best brown eggs. Mr. Owl brought a wise saying, and the snakes brought their finest old skins. But the crocodile always brought his bad temper. He growled. This rent business gives me a pain, he groaned. I don't want to pay my rent, he grizzled. Why should I, he grumbled. I'm a croc. I do what I like and I do it when I like and I do it how I like and I do it where I like. Enough, commanded the king. That's the trouble with you, crocodile. You only do what hurts others. You do very nasty things in the river. You eat people and animals and make the young creatures too frightened to take a drink. The lion was very angry. You must pay $20 for living in the river. Snapped the crocodile. $20? I had $20, but I spent it on scary masks and toffee apples at the last jungle fair. I haven't got any more money. He seemed very honest for once, and the king felt a little sorry for him. All right, said the king in his important voice. If you're telling the truth, it will be well with you. But if you're lying, you'll be in big trouble. The king then said in his very important voice, I'll give you until the next full moon to bring me $20. You'll have to work very hard to earn it. Then the king said in his most important voice, remember, I'm giving you the extra time because I am a kind king. If you don't pay your rent or if I find you causing unhappiness, you'll go to the deepest, darkest dungeon where you'll eat brains, burnt toast, spinach and black custard for the rest of your life. Snarled the crocodile. $20, he scoffed. Next full moon, he snorted. It makes me so mad I could eat a hippopotamus, he sneered. Then he slithered back through the jungle. Now, the last animal to come before the king was the tiniest monkey. He skipped and he hopped and he giggled his way up the jungle path. He was always happy and full of silly things to say and do. He bowed so low in front of the king that he fell over and made a somersault and landed on the great kingly paw.
Oopsie daisy, he chuckled. Sorry, Your Majesty, I whoopsied on your tootsie. I didn't mean to. And anyway, how are you and how's Mrs. Your Majesty and all the little Your Majesties? And oh, look at all your treasures. Is that from collecting rent? That seems like a real good idea. I hope you get real rich and give me some. And
be quiet, roared the king. He appeared to be quite cross, but there was a twinkle in his eye and a smile in the corner of his mouth. He really liked the tiniest monkey. Monkey, he said.
Yes, Your Wondrousness,
said the monkey, who was busy trying to undo a knot in his tail, hoping no one would notice. Monkey, you're the sweetest and silliest of my creatures. You make everyone laugh, and although you talk too much...
Oh, no, I don't. You're dear, my mum. She's a real chatterbox. She goes on and never takes a breath, and she's always talking, and when she... Oh, especially about when she went to hospital and her operation.
Monkey!
Oopsie daisy. Sorry. My mouth was having an accident.
The lion paused and then continued. For living in my tallest tree, you shall pay me 20 cents.
Oh, hip hooray for the king of the lions and of the jungle. He is so wise and he never makes a bungle. He makes up his mind and he is real kind and he's less like a king and more like a hunkle.
All the time he was singing his little made-up song, he was busy fiddling with the end of his tail while skipping about on one leg. When his song came to an end, he cried, "Acha, look," he said.
That's all I had left, is 20 cents tied in the end of my tail, and my mum put it there for my rent.
And he was so excited about finding the money that it flipped out of his fingers and landed between the king's royal toes.
Don't worry, I'll find it,
he said, and he began fossicking around the lion's furry foot.
Irk, you've got all grungy stuff in here. You should dry your toes after your bath. Ah, there it is, he said. I'll give it to you if you promise not to put it in your mouth. You shouldn't suck money.
Enough, said the king, who was nearly bursting inside, trying not to laugh. Do be quiet. I have one more thing to say. I feel the crocodile is planning evil ways to earn money to pay his rent. I've been kind to him and given him until the next full moon to pay his rent. I fear that he has learned nothing of my kindness. He could be dangerous.
Oh, don't worry about him. He's got less brains than a party sausage, and I can trick him any old day. And anyway, I have to go home because my mum's gone out and I have to polish the coconuts. And if you've ever polished a coconut...
His voice trailed off down the jungle path as the king smiled after him. Although the lion was very tired, he felt there was danger in the air and decided to keep ears and eyes open just in case. I wonder if you've ever felt that awful feeling in the middle of the night when you were sure there was someone nasty in your room, even right under your bed. There never is, of course. It doesn't happen. Everyone feels like that from time to time, and it's quite silly, but it is an awful feeling, isn't it? That's just the feeling the tiniest monkey had when he reached the end of the path near his palm tree by the river. He was about to scamper up his tree when he was overcome by the smell of someone green and slimy and very unpleasant.
Is anyone there?
He quietly asked, hoping that someone would answer, "No." He peered into the dark grass, and there, peering back at him, were the two most dreadful eyes in the jungle, unblinking, bloodshot, and bad.
Laddle, 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 monkey. It's me, your friend the crocodile. I've been waiting for you.
The crocodile smiled an ugly, false, sharp-toothed grin. The monkey was terrified, but smiled a wobbly smile and said the first silly thing he could think of.
Hello, Mr. Crocodile. You don't smell so good. What have you been eating?
And immediately wished he hadn't said anything about eating.
Monkey, laddle, 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 I want you to come for a ride on the river with me. I've something nice to show you.
Neither animal took its smile off, and neither animal blinked. The monkey's mind seemed to go blank, and although his tummy said, "No, no, no," the crocodile's eyes said,
"Yes, yes, yes,"
in a much stronger way. And as is the way of crocodiles and monkeys, the crocodile's yeses won. Before you could say party sausage, the monkey was in deep trouble. He found himself hunched wetly on the crocodile's back, floating out into the wide river, his teeth chattering a little and his tail tangled in 3 big knots. Near the middle of the river, the crocodile began to sink his body into the water, so that the only dry place left for the poor, frightened monkey was on the crocodile's head, right around the corner from his mouth.
Now, monkey, laddle, 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 you've never seen the river from here, have you?
No.
It's beautiful, isn't it, monkey?
Yes.
People usually pay for views like this, monkey.
The whole plan was now dreadfully obvious to the tiniest monkey. This was the crocodile's plan to gather his rent money, but there seemed to be too much danger in the air to go with it.
How much do you want?
How does 20 cents sound, monkey? Laddle, 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 laddle.
The monkey knew he was in deeper trouble now.
Well, I just gave my last 20 cents to the king of the jungle, so you better take me home, give me a bit of time like you had to fuzzy around or ask mum or collect drink cans or start a paper round or join a circus or...
Oh, no, monkey. It doesn't work like that. You either give me 20 cents or I will eat you all up right here, right now.
Suddenly, the monkey knew things would turn out all right. You know how it is, don't you? Things seem to go from bad to worse, and then right out from nowhere comes a brilliant idea, and you know that things will get better from then on. The monkey's tail unknotted at once, and trying not to sound too excited, he said,
I don't suppose you'd leave me my kidneys, would you?
No, said the crocodile. The kidneys are the best part. I'd eat those first.
Ah, what a shame,
sighed the monkey.
Just goes to show you don't know much about monkeys.
This was not quite what the crocodile was expecting to hear. He said,
What do you mean, monkey?
Well, today's Monday, isn't it? And Monday's monkey's washing day, although I wouldn't expect you to know much about washing.
The crocodile didn't hear the insult. He was too curious to know what the monkey was talking about. The monkey knew he was going to win the day now and became much bolder.
Well, you see, Crocky, old boy, as it's washing day, I've washed and polished my kidneys and left them in the sun to dry. I was just going up in my tree to pop them back in when you caught me. They should be ready now, all fresh and shiny and tasty looking.
The monkey sounded so convincing that the crocodile was wide-eyed in belief. It seems indeed that his brain was smaller than a party sausage.
But don't worry, Cocky, old pal. If you swim me over to my tree, I'll be glad to climb up and get 'em for you.
The thought of newly washed monkey kidneys, all shiny and fresh and tasty looking, was too much for the crocodile to resist, and drooling slimy yellow dribble, he swam straight for the bank. The tiniest monkey leapt off, and giggling quite loudly now, he said,
Open our little mouthies and I'll throw 'em right down.
as he scampered breathlessly to safety at the very top of his tree.
Open the tunnel,
He called as he snatched the biggest, hardest coconut he could find.
Here comes the choo-choo.
He squealed as he bombed the coconut down tight into the crocodile's huge gaping mouth. Screamed the crocodile and began to swim around in a great rage. He splashed and he shook, but nothing he could do would make the coconut loosen its stringy grip between his sharp teeth. The monkey was swinging madly from branches and vines, giggling and chattering and squealing in delight.
Ho, ho, hey, you can't eat me. Your mouth's too full and I'm up me tree.
All the noise made by the crocodile and the monkey stirred up all the other animals. Monkeys shrieked, birds flew in the air, and the beasts bellowed so much that the great king came running with his proud soldier lions to see the cause of the trouble. "What's the meaning of this?" he demanded crossly. The crocodile was swimming around so much that he had created a whirlpool, and it seemed as if he would go down his own plug hole. He was in no condition to explain anything. All the other animals knew nothing. From the top of his tree, the monkey began to gabble out the story.
He stared and he blinked and he made me go on his back and said it was a nice view and he said, give me 20 cents and I said, take me home and wait a while and he said, no, I'll eat your innards and I said, they're drying and he opened up and I conked him with a surprise and as you can see, he's a little bit upset.
"Enough! I've heard enough," roared the Lion of Lions. "Seize that crocodile and place him in the deepest, darkest dungeon where he is to be fed brains, burnt toast, spinach and black custard for the rest of his life."
Perhaps you better take the coconut out first or he won't be able to eat anything,
said the tiniest monkey. Then the king spoke again. "Let this be a lesson to all my creatures, that I showed him a kindness which should have made him show kindness in turn to all other creatures. Let all learn that my ways are good ways, for I am like the king of all kings, who made all creatures. His are the ways of kindness, forgiveness, and love. His ways are good ways." He looked at the monkey kindly and winked a royal wink. The monkey would have winked back, but he was frightened he might cry, so he sucked his tail instead. The king smiled and walked away. As the jungle settled into silence and long shadows, the tiniest monkey voice could be heard singing,
"A croc tried to eat me and have me for his luncheon, but all he got instead of that was prison in the dungeon."
Jesus teaches us that our Father in heaven has forgiven us for many wrong things we've said and done and has treated us kindly. He expects us to treat others kindly and forgive them for the few wrong things they do to us. This is his way. If you find that hard to remember, perhaps this song will help you.
Forgive and forget, forgive and forget. There's a way to live that you won't regret. When others wrong you and you're hurting inside, remember what Jesus said and he'll be your guide. He said, I love you, I forgive and forget, forgive and forget.
I've told that story all over the world. You can now get your own copy, the read-along version for iPad, iPhone and whatever your tablet is. I tell it with lovely background sounds and it even turns the pages for you if you like. And if you like also, you can go to the bundle page in the shop and get 3 books for the price of 2. Here's the link. It's also down below, just about where the subscribe button is. So leave a comment and join me next time when I'll say, storytelling works, so let it do its job.